So, ladies and gentlemen, I want to talk about an interaction I had on Twitter the other day. And it all started with this post from Nuxtaku. Now, Nuxtaku reacted to a clip of Andrew Tate making fun of Ben Shapiro. I think the clip was pretty funny. Andrew Tate got under the desk and poked his head up like he was, short, and started talking in the high pitched, nasally voice of Ben Shapiro. I think that was pretty funny. But Nux said, Andrew, the Matrix is attacking me, Tate is crashing out, but Ben Shapiro lives the life Baldy wishes he'd have. Nobody wants the life of Ben Shapiro. No amount of money would make that exchange worth it. Ben Shapiro doesn't want to be Ben Shapiro. So I don't know why he's glazing Ben, but I responded, nah, I depart from Nux on this one. That was really funny. And Ben Shapiro is an obnoxious, nasally, often wrong, war-obsessed, culturally retarded neocon midget. Fair. I also acknowledge I am biased against Ben Shapiro because of the blasphemous shit he has said about Jesus Christ in the past. Now, this person comes out and says, could that not be flipped on its head? Were the Christians that claim that God has three aspects, or that Jesus is him, could be considered blasphemous towards God? Well, I responded with the only appropriate answer, no. No. First of all, America is a Christian nation. So if you're going to go on one of the biggest podcasts in the world, and you're going to disparage the holy figure that so many people revere, you're going to get yourself into a little bit of trouble. And by a little bit of trouble, you're going to get criticized and you're going to get called out. This isn't like, Islam, where we're going to put a fatwa on you and call for your execution. No, you're just going to get criticized and called out for being a blasphemous, impish, retarded piece of shit. So this guy asked a question, could that not be flipped on its head? Well, no. No, it's not blasphemous for Christians to hold Jesus Christ as their Lord and Savior. That is a particularly retarded statement. And I don't believe that this is reflective of the Jewish community or most Jews. I think this is just a Twitter retard looking to stir up some stuff. And so this guy says, I consider it blasphemy. And I'm not biased towards Christians. If you believe that saying that Christ is king or that Jesus Christ is God is blasphemy, you do have a bias towards Christians, because that is inseparable from Christianity. In fact, that is the biggest part of Christianity. You do not get into heaven unless you acknowledge Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior. I'm just saying that you don't get to say, well, I'm not biased towards Christianity, and make a statement this profoundly ignorant and this profoundly offensive. Because I understand that a different religion will believe differently. Why is it not the other way around? Well, let me put it this way. If I went on the Joe Rogan Experience and I started blaspheming and started talking shit about Moses and started talking shit about Jewish icons and started saying that it was funny that, it was funny that they got hurt in this way. If I went out there and started talking, oh man, Moses is such a retard. Can you believe this guy was only gone for a couple of days? He was such a poor leader that all of a sudden his retarded Jewish, community started worshiping a golden bull. Like, imagine if I had taken the sort of tone of Ben Shapiro towards Jewish figures. I guarantee that I'd be called an anti-Semite. I'd get major pushback. There'd be a lot of people who would be offended. There'd be a lot of people who would be offended, and you know what? They wouldn't be wrong. They wouldn't be wrong to be offended that I'm disparaging people that they look up to. I'm not saying that they worship Moses. I'm saying that that is a holy figure. That's somebody who is revered in their religion. Jesus Christ is revered in Christianity. So if you disparage him, you're going to get pushback. Now, if you are somebody that believes that saying that Jesus Christ is God is blasphemy, that's something that you can articulate. That's something that you can speak freely. But I'm going to oppose that with every fiber of my being. And if you go on the biggest podcast in the world, I'm going to call you out if you decide to play that sort of loose with a holy figure from my religion. So no, you don't get to put it on the other way around unless I come out and disparage Moses. If I come out and talk shit about Moses, like Moses, what a piece of shit that guy is. Moses, killed his nephew, or his nephew-in-law. He killed his brother, the Pharaoh's kid. Imagine if I did that. I think that if you are Jewish and you have this belief, you would be offended. And you wouldn't be wrong to be offended. Now, I don't hold any of those beliefs about Moses. Most Christians hold Jewish icons in esteem. And I'm just saying that Jesus was not just some random Jew who got killed for his trouble. He was the completion of the covenant that God made with the Jews. Jesus brought with him the church. And his sacrifice is a gift that mankind didn't deserve, but he gave his life anyway, which was incredible. It's one of the greatest sacrifices in the history of all mankind. There's nothing that even comes close. So, the answer is no. Well, I responded, is this tactical retardation, or are you actually asking why blaspheming Jesus is wrong? And this person ends with saying, how are you using it as a personal attack while not realizing that just as you believe he's blaspheming your God, he believes you're blaspheming his? Well, because he's wrong. And that's the main point of today's video. Me saying that Jesus Christ is God, that Christ is King, that he's Lord of Lords, is not blaspheming his God. It's not. To worship and revere Jesus is not a blasphemy against the God of the Jews. But you coming out and outright disparaging Jesus Christ is. And this sort of statement, whether it's tactical retardation or if you're genuinely this dumb, whatever the case may be, if you don't understand why this is a problem, then we're going to have a problem. If you don't understand why disparaging the holy figure of another religion so casually is unacceptable, I don't know what to tell you. And this is why Ben Shapiro gets so much stuff, because he's arrogant, and he's stupid, and he's crass, and he's pathetic. He's a neocon warmonger little imp. And so, yeah, all of this started because I made a comment about that, but it's an interesting perspective, albeit it's wrong. I mean, severely wrong. But this freak actually tried to frame it as though worshiping Jesus is blasphemy. If you believe that, I'll just come out and say it, you're my enemy. Now, that means different things for different religions, as I said. Being my enemy means I'm probably just going to ignore you. I'm probably just going to say, yeah, that guy doesn't have anything worth saying. I'm just going to look at you as though you are somebody not worth engaging with. But yeah, I mean, you can say whatever you want about Jesus. You can. I'm not going to stop you from doing so, because ultimately, at the end of the day, when your time comes due, you're going to have to stand in front of the Father. You're going to have to stand in front of the Son and explain why you thought it was appropriate to blaspheme Jesus and ignore his gifts, ignore his sacrifice. That's on you. That's not on me. I have my own things that I have to, attest for and account for. But that's not going to be one of them. And so, yeah, I just thought it was really, really interesting, because I hadn't really heard this before. I hadn't heard this line of questioning that, well, is it okay for Ben Shapiro to blaspheme Jesus and disparage him because you worshiping him is an offense to his religion? And my answer to that simply would be no. No. Christ is King. He's Lord of Lords. And I think that without any sort of justification, going out there and disparaging Jesus Christ, not only is it optically a bad move, considering that America is a Christian nation, but in terms of wanting to get people to respect your religion, going out and attacking other religions is not necessarily a good move unless that religion has done something to warrant that. Jesus lived a sinless life. He was somebody that preached. I mean, in the Bible, the things that Jesus preached were things that will make people better versions of themselves in all cases. So, let me know what you think in the comments, ladies and gentlemen. Let me know what you think about this. Yeah, I wanted to bring it up. And in the end, what I'll say is that we should thank God every day for being willing to sacrifice his son and sacrifice a part of himself for us who were unworthy of the gift, but we were given it. And yeah, it's something that we have to try to live up to every day. We won't, because we are flawed, we are in sin, but Jesus Christ is the way, the truth, and the life. Anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that'll do it. Thanks for watching. See you next time.